ये रेडियो पाकिस्तान पॉडकास्ट है।
Assalamu alaikum. This is News and Current Affairs channel of Radio Pakistan. I am your host Javed Siddiq with weekly program Diplomatic Session. Listeners and viewers, in this program we discuss bilateral relations, cooperation and other important developments of mutual interest with the diplomats of Pakistan's friendly countries and regional and international blocs. Today, in our show, we have with us the Ambassador of Bulgaria, Her Excellency Irina Ganacheva, to Pakistan. This show is being broadcast simultaneously from News and Current Affairs channel and FM 101 networks of Radio Pakistan, Saturdays at 6:15 p.m. Ambassador, you are welcome in this show. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's really a pleasure and honor to be here with you today.
Ambassador, Pakistan and Bulgaria both are friendly countries and they have very good cordial relations. How would you describe the relationship at this juncture?
You rightly mentioned that Bulgaria and Pakistan are linked with bonds of traditional friendship. This year in June we will complete 57 years since the establishment of our diplomatic relations.
Yes.
And I can say that this is yet another proof for the traditionally good and friendly ties between our two countries. I believe there is a lot of potential that hasn't been properly utilized yet, and during my mission here, during my assignment, I would be more than happy to contribute in that direction in terms of political dialogue, trade and economic cooperation, as well as enhancing the people-to-people contacts through educational exchange and other programs of mutual interest.
You have mentioned the potential that exists between the two countries to enhance cooperation in all fields. So what will be your priority? In which area you would like to expand and enhance cooperation?
First of all, I would like to contribute to increasing the mutual awareness and the mutual knowledge between the people of our two countries, because I believe this is an important prerequisite for enhancing the cooperation in all areas of mutual interest. Of course, there is a lot of potential in the area of trade and economy, and also taking into consideration the priorities of the government of Pakistan as well in this regard to actually increase the economic cooperation with different countries around the world through diplomacy. Actually, this would be also one of the priority in during my assignment as well.
Right. Ambassador, trade and economy is the name of the game. In this day and age, countries can strengthen their bilateral ties by increasing cooperation in the field of economy and trade. So, what would you like to do in this field to increase cooperation in the trade sector?
I would like to mention that we already have a very important bilateral intergovernmental mechanism for cooperation, and this is the Joint Economic Commission between Bulgaria and Pakistan, which exists since 2015. The last session was held here in Islamabad in May 2019, and unfortunately due to the challenges and the COVID pandemic for the last 2 years, we couldn't have the next session in Sofia. I believe later this year we will be able to hold the session. Another important aspect in this regard is also to connect and to create actually direct contacts between representatives of the business community of our two countries. And in this regard, different institutions like chambers of commerce, as well as investment promotion agencies, and also small and medium-sized enterprises promotion agencies could play a very important role. On our side, we are already in contact with all these institutions in Bulgaria. A very important memorandum of understanding was signed in March last year between the Bulgarian Chamber of Commerce and the Federation of Pakistan Bulgaria-Pakistan Chambers of Commerce
and Industry.
Yes, for the establishment of joint Bulgaria-Pakistan Business Council. So I believe we are moving in the right direction, but in the coming years we need to do much more in that regard,
Exactly.
in terms of direct contacts.
Right. So are there any prospects for the Bulgarian investors to invest in Pakistan and vice versa? The Pakistan is investing in Bulgaria.
For the time being, there are some investments in both directions, but not as much as we can have, taking into consideration the existing potential. Recently, I had a meeting with the Secretary of the Board of Investment of Pakistan,
yes.
and we discussed also the opportunities of having an online meeting with Invest Bulgaria agency, so that both sides can introduce the incentives for investors, for foreign investors, for attracting foreign investors. We will be working on that. I believe this conversation and this online meeting can take place in the coming month or so, and I believe this will be the initial step so that both countries know more about the opportunities.
Yeah, but what kind of what goods are Bulgarians or the people of Bulgaria, the government, are importing from Pakistan, and what goods are being imported by Pakistan from Bulgaria?
So actually the major goods that actually Pakistan exports to Bulgaria are of course textile products, cotton fabrics, as well as medical appliances and instruments, including surgical and dental
instruments.
Yes, these are the main goods, the main items. As far as Bulgarian exports to Pakistan is concerned, for the last 2 years a major good that we are exporting is wheat and muslin, and I am glad to mention that for the first 9 months of last year, according to our data, I'm speaking about the period January-September 2021. Yes, actually the bilateral turnover increased to 91 million USD.
Okay.
This is almost unprecedented. We haven't had such figures since 2008. And compared to the same period of 2020, actually this is a huge increase, because for the same period in 2020 we had only like 35.3 million USD. Okay. So we're witnessing this positive trend, but there is a lot more to be done, especially in terms of cooperation in the sphere of agriculture, in the sphere of information and communication technologies as well.
In agriculture, Bulgaria has experience in agriculture. So what could be done to increase our cooperation in the field of agriculture? Because Pakistan needs a lot more in the field of agriculture. It is now striving to increase this farm production, wheat, rice and other
Yes.
crops. So in what way Bulgaria or the expert from Bulgaria could help Pakistan?
I'm glad to share with you and your audience that in the middle of December 2021, a memorandum of understanding has been signed between the Bulgarian Agricultural Academy and Pakistan Agricultural Research Council.
PARC.
Yes. And the two institutions will start working on different projects. I believe Bulgaria can contribute a lot in terms of sharing its know-how and expertise in terms of food processing, in terms of development of different crops, which are of interest and important for Pakistan. We're working now, and very soon, in the beginning of February, the experts of the two countries will have an online session. And also, I believe we can host a Bulgarian delegation in the field of agriculture later this year, as soon as the COVID situation would allow.
Yeah.
Yes.
But to introduce more varieties of seeds which can yield more crops per acre.
Yes.
So the Bulgarian experts and agriculture experts particularly can contribute in a big way here in Pakistan.
Definitely they can. And actually our competent institutions, they have expertise in really very vast, huge variety of fields. So this is the reason why during these expert talks, they will identify common projects of mutual interest, right, which they will implement in the coming months and years, yes, hopefully.
In Pakistan, the per acre yield of various important cereals and particularly wheat and rice and other eatables,
yes,
is not at the desirable level. So can Bulgarian experts help Pakistan to achieve the objective of increasing this farm production to the level where Pakistan can achieve the objective of food security?
I believe so, and actually this is the aim, because not only Bulgaria but all other members of the European Union, they're actually aiming at supporting Pakistan in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals and having this development assistance cooperation. So definitely this would be the final aim, so that we can support Pakistan in achieving all these goals.
Ambassador, you mentioned the potential of increasing and expanding the trade between the two countries. Besides textile items, what other items? I mean, surgical instruments, yes, you have mentioned, but Pakistan is also producing very quality leather goods, sports goods, and other items as well. Yes. So what are the prospects of increased import of these products from Pakistan?
Bulgaria could be a good market for export of leather goods, and I believe this is also part of our import from Pakistan, but maybe we can work on increasing this. Recently also there were very important business forums between European Union and Pakistan, and yes, all these sectors and the opportunities for cooperation in all these sectors have been discussed. So Bulgarian Chamber of Commerce and interested Bulgarian companies, they participated online in these events, and I believe that already some direct contacts have been established. And me personally, being the ambassador of Bulgaria, of course, very soon I'm planning to visit also Sialkot, which is the place where all these businesses, it is the hub of the production.
Surgical instruments and,
yes.
Yes, the
and
leather goods.
Leather goods and sports goods. So I will have dedicated conversations and sessions with the respective companies and institutions over there, and we will identify the opportunities for enhancing this kind of cooperation.
Ambassador, joint ventures are also being done between various countries of the world. And what are the prospects of joint ventures between the Bulgarian and Pakistani entrepreneurs and investors?
The potential is there, and as I mentioned, I believe some of the most perspective spheres are ICT. And yes, because Bulgaria also ranks very high in terms of IT and also mathematicians and IT specialists per capita. This is one of the areas. Joint ventures are possible, I believe, also in the agricultural field, as we discussed. And other perspective areas are, I believe, transport, energy as well. Also taking into consideration the geographical location of the two countries, because Bulgaria also being located at the crossroads between Europe and Asia, we could be the gate of Pakistani business and Pakistani exports to the huge European market, and the same is valid for Pakistan in this part of the world.
Ambassador, Bulgaria can Bulgaria help Pakistan overcome its energy problems? You know, Pakistan is energy deficient countries. country, and it is looking for opportunities to increase its power production, electricity, and particularly. And can the Bulgarian investors or the experts can help Pakistan increase the power production in this country?
I believe there are opportunities, and this could be a topic of discussion during the next session of the Joint Economic Commission between the two countries, because what is important about this mechanism is that it not only brings government officials to discuss the different opportunities, but also private sector, yes. Because usually these sessions, they include also holding B2B meetings and having business component of the delegation as well. So this could be part of their discussion during the next session.
So this Joint Economic Commission that you have mentioned in your conversation, what other subjects are within the purview of this commission which come under discussion?
So actually a broad area of topics are discussed during the Economic Commission. It is trade and economic cooperation. It is cooperation in the field of information and communication technologies, right, as well as transport. We have also the agricultural segment over there. Even tourism and culture is included in the sessions, as well as potential for energy cooperation and others.
On the transport front, what kind of steps be taken by Bulgaria to help Pakistan overcome its transportation problems? We have a huge population, and the transportation of people is a problem. So what could be done on the part of Bulgaria and the experts of Bulgaria?
For the time being, the experts of the two countries have discussed the opportunities for cooperation in the railway sector. Yes, so they agreed to establish the joint working group in this area, and we will be working to have the first session of this joint group because it has been recently decided to establish this group. We will be working on dates for the first session, be it online or in physical presence, depending on the COVID situation. So this is the first area of mutual interest, yes, that the two countries will discuss the opportunities for cooperation.
Another attraction for the Bulgarian investors and entrepreneurs is the huge population of Pakistan.
Definitely.
And particularly a huge segment, a large segment of our population is young. The people ranging from age 20 to 35, big number. So how could the Bulgarian experts or entrepreneurs or investors exploit the youth, the potential of youth in Pakistan?
Actually, what you mentioned is, how can I say, this is one of the strengths of Pakistan, yeah, and especially having this young population and also especially the educated segment of the population, this could be attractive and very useful for each and every foreign investor in this country. Bulgaria offers also very good opportunities in this regard because we are also proud to have like very well educated young segment of our society, which also is one of the attractive features for foreign investors in our country. Yes. So both of our countries have this trend, and they can exchange opinions and knowledge on how to better utilize this potential.
Right. And then Pakistan and Bulgaria, as you have said, they have youthful population. So there should be a convergence of dialogue and views between the two countries to basically enhance the exchange of young people and experts to both countries.
I completely agree with what you mentioned. That is why in the beginning of our conversation today, I mentioned that enhancing people-to-people contacts is one of the priorities, increasing the awareness, the knowledge, and the people-to-people contacts, because this is the basis for developing the relations in all other areas of mutual interest.
Right. The exchange program, currently probably it is restricted because of Corona, COVID-19. And but once this is over, the gates could be open for exchange of young people, young experts.
Yes. During the last several months, I have been meeting the chancellors of different universities here, discussing namely the opportunities for establishing direct contacts with Bulgarian universities, which is actually again one of the prospects for increasing the people-to-people contacts, and especially the contacts between the young people of our countries. So I believe that in the coming years, we could also achieve more in terms of having MOUs for cooperation between universities. In Bulgaria, the universities are autonomous institutions, and they take their own decisions. But we could always encourage them, informing them about the opportunities here in Pakistan, as well as informing the respective Pakistani institutions about the opportunities in Bulgaria. By the way, Bulgaria is one of the destinations for Pakistani university students for medical science.
Right.
We do have Pakistani students in Bulgaria in our medical universities.
So, do the Bulgarian universities offer scholarships to Pakistani students to study medicine and engineering and other subjects?
For the time being, the university students that I have just mentioned are mainly studying in Bulgaria on private basis, but the governments of the two countries could explore the opportunities and discuss the possibilities for signing some kind of cooperation agreement, which will also lead to providing scholarships.
And in order to institutionalize this process of studies of Pakistani students going to Bulgarian universities and the Bulgarians coming to Pakistan, Bulgarian students studying here, the institutionalization of this process is important. So,
it is.
Are you contemplating any steps or any proposals to institutionalize this process?
For the time being, my primary aim is to encourage the direct contacts, because I believe this is the right approach, the direct contacts between the universities. There is interest among Bulgarian university students as well, especially from the Center of Eastern Languages and Cultures in Sofia University, which is the most prestigious and the oldest Bulgarian university. We do have one major called South and Southeast Asian Studies, and university students there are very enthusiastic to have opportunities to visit the countries from the region, including Pakistan, and to participate in short-term programs. In the future, the dedicated institutions of the two countries, namely the ministries of education, can start discussions on having these intergovernmental arrangements as well. Now, we have already started some discussions on having a bilateral agreement for cooperation, but it is more related to culture and cultural activities, which is also very important for getting the people of our two countries closer and making them know more about each other's culture.
You mentioned tourism also in your early conversation. So how could the two countries cooperate in the field of tourism? I mean, encouraging Bulgarian tourists to come to Pakistan and vice versa.
There have already been discussions with the Ministry of Tourism of Bulgaria about the possibilities and even about conclusion of some kind of bilateral document. Bulgaria has very good traditions because it is
Yes.
tourism is an
Historically,
important
yes.
part of our economy as well. So we can share with Pakistan useful knowledge in this regard, and we would be also more than happy to attract more Pakistani tourists, both for winter and summer tourism in Bulgaria. We have right now our new government in Sofia, and I believe the coming months will be the period during which we will identify the priorities in all sectors of mutual interest, and we will start implementing concrete steps in that direction.
Culture is another very important factor in increasing and enhancing the relations between the two countries. So what is there in your mind to basically increase the cooperation in the culture field, the field of culture and art?
In the field of culture and art, we can have different initiatives, including different exhibitions to display the sightseeing places in the two countries. Also, different performances of traditional arts. We have already started working in this direction, and I believe later this year we might have some very interesting projects implemented here in Pakistan. Of collaboration between European and in particular Bulgarian and Pakistani artists, but I can disclose more details later on because this is still under consideration. Yes. And within this year we are also considering to invite a traditional Bulgarian group, folklore group, to introduce singers, musicians and even dancers, yes. Just to introduce Bulgarian traditional culture and through music and to our folklore music. And I believe that the Embassy of Pakistan in Sofia is working on similar projects to introduce Pakistani traditional culture and arts in Bulgaria.
So you have established some contacts with the Ministry of Culture here in Pakistan?
Yes, yes. Several months ago I had a meeting with the Federal Minister for Education, Professional Training and Cultural Heritage. So we were discussing also next steps for the conclusion and for the signing of this bilateral cooperation program in the field of culture, as well as particular initiatives. So I'm very hopeful that even within this year we might have more cultural events related to Bulgaria and Pakistan here in Islamabad, as well as in Sofia.
Right. IT, in information technology, you have mentioned is the name of the game. It is very important in today's world. So how could the two countries increase that cooperation in the field of information technology?
During the last session of the Intergovernmental Economic Commission, the two sides agreed to establish a joint working group in the field of ICT. IT. Yes. So the experts of the two countries are already in contact, and we will very soon have the first session taking place either physically in Sofia or through online channels if the situation would not allow. We have already taken the initial steps in that direction, and I will be very glad to share with you more details as soon as the first session of this working group takes place.
Yeah. And also the information generally, Pakistan has a very strong information ministry. I don't know about Bulgaria, but exchange of delegations of artists and other people and journalists also.
Yes, journalists.
So
yes.
Is there any thinking about it?
Of course. I already had two very important meetings. The first one with the Federal Minister for Information and Broadcasting, as well as with the Director General of the Associated Press of Pakistan. So we are working on a cooperation agreement between the Bulgarian news agency and APP. So hopefully when the respective procedures are done on both sides, the two sides will be able to conclude this agreement. And in this age of information technologies, booming information technologies, we believe it's also very important to exchange information. And also this is also a way to also fight this kind of fake news and improper information. So cooperation between the respective official news agencies of the two countries is important in this regard.
People can get authentic
stories, information, and the right image about the two countries.
Yes, Ambassador, despite all restrictions and inhibitions, both Pakistan and Bulgaria are quite interested to increase their mutual contacts, and public diplomacy is the tool which of course you are using. And what other ways can be used to bring these two countries together?
We can explore so many opportunities. There are no limits to that. It depends also on our personal motivation, and Pakistan offers so many opportunities. It is really a huge country, and I'm still in the process of exploring all those opportunities, but I believe exchange of delegations at different level, work level, official delegations, this is the right approach, as well as having different promotional events in terms of culture, educational opportunities, all these areas that we already discussed with you. This will be the right approach, more promotional events and more direct contacts between representatives of our two countries.
Ambassador, thank you so much. Listeners and viewers, this is all with today's show in Diplomatic Session. Next week, we will have with us a new personality. The producer of today's program was Rana Ghulam Mustafa, video engineer Farhan Ali, and executive producer Abdul Rauf Khan. This show is also available on Radio Pakistan's official website, www.radio.gov.pk. social media platforms, and Radio Pakistan's podcast at radio.gov.pk. I am your host, Javed Siddique, signing off from today's diplomatic session from News and Current Affairs channel of Radio Pakistan, Islamabad.
ये रेडियो पाकिस्तान पॉडकास्ट है।